Chapter 1120 had me on the edge of my seat because it is finally happening. Kizaru betrayed the Marines and he's officially joining the Straw Hat Pirates. Wait, what? What do you mean that's not happening? All jokes aside though, my man really hasn't done anything since chapter 1109. Maybe we need that Naruto's talk no jutsu to help him snap out of it. Now, while all the Kizaru joining the Straw Hat theories were very interesting, they were a little bit more on the fan fiction side. Just because Kuzan joins the Blackbeard Pirates doesn't mean Borsalino would join the Straw Hats. However, the last few chapters do confirm the addition of 2 new members. We have Lilith, the Evil, and Bonney, the Big Eater. Of course, this is One Piece and a new Straw Hat isn't confirmed until they set sail, but you know what? They set sail. They already did it. And in this video, I'm going to give you the exact reasons why Lilith and Bonney will be sailing on the Sunny Go from now on. We'll also look at the counter arguments and truly try to put everything in perspective. But first, let's talk about what their roles will be on the ship. Starting with Lilith, of course, she'll be no other than a scientist. But one thing I do want to add is that she's joining as Lilith, not Vegapunk. In chapter 1120, Atlas disconnected her from Punk Records to make York think that Lilith is dead. This is important because unless Atlas also dies, Lilith won't be reconnecting with Punk Records. But why is that important? Well, Lilith is already her own person, but the connection with Punk Records is what represented the fact that as Vegapunk's satellite, she is also Vegapunk. Now that the connection is severed, she is Lilith. And I love this because Egghead as a whole has strong themes regarding free will. York betrayed Vegapunk out of her own free will. Kuma crossed the seas to come save his daughter out of his own free will. This is also why Lilith joining the crew isn't as crazy as, let's say, Vegapunk joining the crew. Of course, she is also Vegapunk, and by allowing her on board, Luffy will be fulfilling Vegapunk's request on taking him away from Egghead. In other words, this is all the idea of inherited will. But now moving on to Bonney, on the other hand, she will be joining the crew as the ship's apprentice. I know a lot of fans believe that the Revolutionary Army should take her in, but I genuinely don't believe that Oda has structured her story this way. If it was going to be the Revolutionary Army though, she would have gone with them when she came across Sabo and the others at the Reverie. Instead, she sets out to Egghead to see if Vegapunk can turn her father back to normal. Even though the Revolutionary Army could have helped her with this, she chose to go by herself. Besides, when you really think about it, her joining as an apprentice on Luffy's ship makes so much sense, it's not even funny. To start things off, the amount of parallels we have are pretty insane. We know that Roger took in Shanks as an apprentice and also gave him his straw hat. The exact same can be the relationship between Luffy and Bonney. Again, this isn't anything new. There have been theories on this for at least a year at this point, but when Bonney did that combo attack with Sanji, Frankie, and Luffy, the theory started to become actual canon. Cheeky Sanji literally told her it's captain's orders, like she's already a part of the crew. There used to be memes about how Luffy would give his straw hat to his son Boofy in One Piece Next Generations, and there was also good theories like how the inheritor of the straw hat will be Makino's son or Tama, but it appears that Oda cooked us a 5-star gourmet meal while we were expecting fast food. This is Bonney we're talking about. Between her aspiration to be like Nika, her personality that'll make you think she's Luffy's sister, and the kind of will that makes her potential appear as vast as the seas themselves, she is the perfect successor. We also gotta keep in mind that this little girl one-shotted a CPA elite by age 9, she became a worst generation by age 10, and then went on to throw hands with Blackbeard, the master behind the Paramount War. After the time skip, she invaded Mary Joa to save her father by herself, which is something even literal top tiers would think twice before actually doing. There's literally no other way to go about it. Bonney is her. It's also interesting how both Roger and Luffy are by far the most impactful D members of their eras, while Shanks and Bonney are celestial dragons who were abandoned. How very fitting and poetic. This is exactly why Bonney would be wasted in the Revolutionary Army. She is not that kind of person, and I'm pretty sure even Dragon himself would agree with this because he said the same things regarding Luffy. In chapter 440, he literally said, "Live the life you want, Luffy." And to put this into perspective, let me ask you guys a question. Would Ace have been half as impactful as Sabo if he was in the Revolutionary Army? Bonney is like Luffy, but it's also true that she has now become a ridiculous threat to the world government because of the control she has over the pacifista. She won't survive by herself, which is why the best thematic and narrative course of action of her character arc is to join the Straw Hat Pirates. One thing I do want to add though is that she'll be an apprentice by name only. The dynamic between her and Luffy would be more like extremely hyperactive siblings, which is exactly what we've seen whenever the two of them interacted during Egghead. Overall, it's arguable if Lilith would actually become a Straw Hat or not, but Bonney, she's already one of them. And in case you guys may think that her joining the Straw Hat crew doesn't make sense because of her broken fruit, I actually made a video explaining how her fruit works, so I recommend all of you to watch that right now. It'll be up here. But ultimately, Kuma lived his entire life as a slave, but now his daughter is the freest girl of the seas. She is the Joy Girl. But going back to Lilith, in this case it could go either way. There's a genuine possibility that she joins the Revolutionary Army. The world government and the Celestial Dragons at the top embody greed. Dragon is portrayed as the worst criminal, which makes him the embodiment of evil, at least as far as the government is concerned. But you guys see where I'm getting at with all of this? York, the greed, joins the world government. Lilith, the evil, joins the Revolutionary Army. She fit right in with all those crazy personalities in the Revolutionary Army, and unlike Bonney, she can actually play a good role. Not to mention, things have changed for the Revolutionary Army. Dragon's influence is all over the world, so unlike when he tried to recruit Vegapunk decades ago, he may also now have the skills that can put Lilith's scientific mind to good use. However, this is just one possibility. This would only be if she doesn't join the Straw Hat Pirates. The way I see it, we're in the end game, so Luffy and Dragon will soon meet, or at least Luffy will come into contact with the army. Elbaf can be used as the spot because it's completely out of the government's reach. When you think about all of this, it almost feels planned. We also know that Shaka told Dragon something before his death, so it could be about having them escort Vegapunk to their side. This would be insane because we could potentially see Dragon and Luffy face to face for the first time ever. But it is worth pointing out that Vegapunk himself asked Luffy to take him from Egghead. He didn't have any plans of joining the Revolutionaries because, of course, even though he referred to Luffy as Dragon's son, he didn't ask him to take him to Dragon. And this is because, well, Vegapunk himself had no intention. He knew the government was after his ass, and when Luffy pulled up, he chose to stay under the Emperor's shadow. So while it is possible for Lilith to end up with the Revolutionaries, right now, she's with the Straw Hats. Luffy promised Sentomaru that he'll protect the Apple Man, but Vegapunk himself and 4 of his satellites are not dead. York is the traitor, and Lilith is the only one who remains. Luffy is an emperor and a man of his words, plus it's his job to protect Lilith. If the Revolutionary Army needed Vegapunk, they could have made an arrangement beforehand, and this is why, if we do go the Revolutionary Army route, it'll likely happen when Straw Hats and the Revolutionaries actually join hands and fight side by side. But like I said before, until then, Lilith is sailing with them. In chapter 1090, she looked pretty excited because this is her first time leaving the island, which tells us that she is the adventurous type. And lastly, to wrap all of this up, let's think about what she would actually do. How much does she know? What can she build? What can she actually do for the crew? Remember how Vegapunk had Jinbei carry some boxes to the ship? The answer definitely lies there. Think about it this way. Oda already knew he was going to kill all the good Vegapunks and leave Lilith alive, but he still had Jinbei carrying his stuff to the ship. Lilith is most likely the only one who will be putting those boxes to use. She can also help Frankie, Usopp, and even Nami get some power-ups. Honestly, there's probably a lot that she can do, but again, in her case, it's still uncertain whether she's gonna be with the Straw Hats or the Revolutionary Army. As for Bonney, well, as I mentioned earlier, you can already consider her a Straw Hat. She will be inheriting the will of the man who shall surpass the previous Joy Boy. She shall inherit the Straw Hat from the greatest pirate to ever exist. But what do you guys think? Is Bonney already a Straw Hat? What can we expect from Lilith going forward? Let's continue this down over in the comments. If you guys enjoyed today's video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on the next One Piece video. Also, the next chapter is going to be released on One Piece 27th anniversary, so we can definitely expect Oda to be cooking up some crazy stuff. So until that chapter releases, stay tuned for that video. But other than that, take it easy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.